Leave him alone or I swear I'll knock your teeth out." 3 grown men froze and turned toward the mouth of the alley. What they saw made them burst into cruel laughter. Standing there was a skinny little black girl, no more than 6 years old, with wild braids tied up in 2 uneven puffs, a coat several sizes too big, and a scuffed-up rubber baseball clenched tight in her tiny hand. Her knees were scraped, her cheeks wind-burned, but her stare sharp and unflinching held steady. One of the men, tall and sneering, barked out a laugh. "Oh, hell no. What is this? Y'all seeing this?" The second one howled. "Little girl thinks she's a superhero." The third, the biggest of the 3, cupped his hands around his mouth and called out mockingly, "Go home, little black princess, unless you want to end up like this rich punk over here." He jerked his thumb toward the man pinned against the wall. Richard Langston, 45, billionaire, builder of skylines, was bleeding from the corner of his lip. His expensive watch cracked, briefcase torn open beside him. Just moments earlier, he had been walking through the South Side alone after a meeting, hoping to scout a property himself for once. He hadn't expected an ambush. Now, as he looked past the 3 men threatening his life, he saw a child barely older than his own niece stand between him and fate. "I said leave him alone," the girl shouted again, louder, fiercer. The tattooed man snarled, "Somebody better snatch that brat before she gets herself hurt. You want to get messed up too, little girl." The second man snapped, "Get out of here before you end up like him." But Anna didn't budge. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. "I don't miss," she said. The men laughed harder. That was when she threw the first ball. It sailed through the air, tight with spin, and cracked the second man square in the nose. He shrieked and stumbled backward, blood pouring down his face. The third man lunged forward, but Anna had already turned her head and screamed, "Now throw him!" From behind parked cars, fire escapes, dumpsters, dozens of small shadows moved. A wave of kids appeared, boys and girls no older than 10, holding whatever they had, rubber balls, tennis balls, even a dodgeball or 2. Street kids, Anna's friends, her teammates, and they attacked like a storm. "For Anna," one of them shouted. Balls flew through the air in a chaotic, relentless barrage. One smacked the tallest man in the throat. He choked and hit the ground. Another hit the third in the back of the head. Within seconds, the 3 grown men were on the pavement, groaning, covering their faces, trying to crawl away. Richard couldn't believe what he was seeing. A half-dozen children, maybe more, armed with nothing but practice balls and playground courage, had taken down 3 fully grown thugs. Anna stood in front of him, panting, holding one last ball. She turned to him. "You okay, mister?" Yes," Richard stammered. "Yes, I think so." Sirens shrieked in the distance, closing in fast. The kids scattered like ghosts, melting into alleys, doorways, and fences. They disappeared as quickly as they'd come. Anna didn't run. She stood her ground, chest rising and falling. A police cruiser screeched around the corner and braked hard. 2 officers jumped out, weapons half drawn. "Hands in the air," one yelled. Anna raised her arms. One of the cops rushed toward her. "Drop the ball. Drop it now." "Wait." Richard tried to step in, but he stumbled, dazed. The cop grabbed Anna by the shoulder and twisted her around. She winced but didn't cry. "She's just a kid," Richard finally managed to say, louder this time. "She saved me." The officers hesitated. "Name?" one asked Anna. "Anna," she said softly. "Where do you live?" She didn't answer. The officer looked over at Richard. "You sure she's not involved?" Richard looked at the bruises on his arms, the cracked watch, the scattered briefcase. Then he looked at Anna. Her face was tired. Her hands trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Then came the question. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Richard swallowed hard. "No, Anna," he said at last. "You did everything right. If that moment moved you too, you're not alone. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest courage. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, we'd love to know. And if you believe more people should hear stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more." The police eventually left. They took the 3 attackers away in handcuffs, one limping, one bleeding, one cursing under his breath. Richard Langston gave a full statement. though he couldn't stop glancing at the little girl standing nearby. Anna, 6 years old, barely came up to his waist, but somehow had taken control of a situation that left him speechless. An officer offered her a ride home. She declined. Said she didn't live far. Richard opened his mouth to insist, to say something. But the look on her face, sharp, proud, and untouchable, kept him silent. She turned and walked away. He watched her until she disappeared around the corner. No thank you. No request. No name at first, just a tiny figure with scraped knees, rubber balls in her coat, and a bravery that would haunt him. Later that night, Richard lay awake in his luxury condo, far above the city noise. His bruised ribs ached with every breath, but what throbbed more was the image of Anna standing in that alley, shouting at grown men with weapons like she had nothing to lose. Then those other kids. The wave of them. All coordinated, all ready to protect one of their own. He couldn't stop thinking about it. Who were they? Where did they go afterward? Street kids, sure. But not just that. They had something between them, something that money didn't buy. Loyalty. The next afternoon, Anna was back in her spot by the alley. Chalked up target on the wall, worn out crate beneath her feet, rubber ball in hand. She didn't expect to see him again. Most grown folks didn't return to the south side unless they were police or lost. Then the black car pulled up. She caught the ball and turned, squinting. You again, she said. Richard stepped out, not in a suit this time, just a soft gray sweater and jeans. He smiled like someone trying to remember how. I told myself if I saw you again, I wouldn't waste time. Anna raised an eyebrow. You here to give me a medal or something? He chuckled. No. I came to ask a question. She leaned against the wall, cautious. What kind? Those kids, he said. The ones who showed up when you yelled. They your friends. She hesitated. Yeah, some of them. Some just listen when I call. We look out for each other. Richard nodded slowly. I want to help them. Anna's eyes narrowed. Why? Because nobody else island. And because I owe you. She crossed her arms. We don't need charity. I'm not offering charity, he said. I'm offering opportunity. Anna tilted her head. What kind of opportunity? Richard took a deep breath. A foundation. A real one. For kids like you, like your friends. Street smart, loyal, brave. You got guts and skills most grown-ups don't. Anna watched him carefully. I want to build something, he continued. A safe space. Supplies, coaches, teachers, maybe even create a baseball team, your team, with uniforms, real gear, a field that's not covered in glass and broken bottles. A team, she repeated, eyes narrowing again. I saw what you did with that throw. That wasn't luck. That was practice, discipline. You don't teach that. It's already in you. I just want to give you the tools to go further. Anna bit her lip. We play in the lot behind the school. Ain't no coach. We just take turns. Jimmy got cleats from a trash bag once. Richard knelt so they were eye to eye. What if I helped you make that team real? What if I got you cleats that fit, balls that aren't falling apart, and a coach who knows your name? Anna glanced away, thoughtful. Why you really doing this? He paused. Because I don't want to be the kind of man who gets saved by a kid and forgets her the next day. Because I looked around that alley and realized I've built towers, but I never built anything that matters. Anna stayed quiet. Can I at least buy you lunch? He added gently. And your grandma, too. Anna sighed like a grown-up. You ask a lot of questions for someone who just got his butt saved. He grinned. Fair enough. Okay, she finally said. You can meet Grandma. Miss Loretta wasn't surprised when Anna introduced Richard at the door. The old woman eyed him up and down, took one long sip of her tea, then said, You better not be selling anything. No, ma'am, he replied quickly. Then I'll come. But I sit near the window. The three of them walked to the diner on the corner. The waitress wore hot pink lipstick and called everyone sweetheart. Anna ordered pancakes. Miss Loretta got eggs and toast. Richard drank coffee this time and actually remembered to sip it. In between bites, he pulled out a notepad. What would your dream team look like, Anna? he asked. She blinked. Like a real team, he nodded. Real coach, real field, real league. She stared at her plate. I don't know. We'd wear blue. Dark blue. Like the night sky. Richard wrote it down. Name. She grinned for the first time. Skyballs. Miss Loretta coughed into her napkin to hide a laugh. Richard chuckled. Done. Huh. Anna's eyes danced for a moment, brief, but bright. Then she remembered herself and looked serious again. You gotta ask the others, she said. It ain't just me. It's all of us. I will, he promised. But I'm starting with the captain. That night, after Richard left, Miss Loretta pulled Anna close and brushed her hair. You trust that man? Anna thought hard. Not yet. Her grandma nodded. Good girl. But he's trying. That's more than most. Anna looked out the window. The alley was quiet now, but her mind buzzed. She didn't know what the future held. But maybe, just maybe, it held a field, a team, a name, and someone in the stands who remembered. The lot behind Roosevelt Elementary was a patch of earth nobody wanted. It sat between two crumbling apartment buildings and the remains of a burned-out corner store. Its fence was rusted, its grass more weeds than green, and its dirt hard enough to bruise a knee on contact. But for Anna and her friends, it was their stadium, their escape, their sanctuary. The next Saturday morning, the lot didn't feel like itself. Something was different. Anna stood on the edge of the field, rubber ball in hand, staring at the shiny van parked just outside the gate. From it had come a group of men unloading equipment, bats, gloves, buckets of baseballs, cones, even a portable pitching mound. And Richard Langston, he wasn't dressed fancy, just jeans, a gray hoodie, and sunglasses. But he had the same straight posture and quiet intensity he'd had in the alley. His eyes scanned the field like a man seeing something important for the first time. Anna narrowed her eyes. She hadn't told the others he was coming, not because she didn't believe him, but because she didn't know what to believe yet. Behind her, the crew had begun to gather. Kids from the blocks, Jaden, who always wore his sister's hand-me-down sneakers. Tino, who could catch with one hand but never stopped talking. Mari, who hit balls like they owed her money, and a dozen others, boys and girls, small and fast, loud and laughing. What's all that? Jaden asked, pointing at the equipment. Who's that guy? Mari asked. Anna turned, serious. That's the man I told y'all about, the one from the alley. You mean the rich dude you saved? Anna nodded. He wants to help. Said he's gonna start a team, give us gear, maybe even a coach. Jaden frowned. Why would a rich guy care about us? Mari snorted. He trying to feel good about himself. I don't know, Anna admitted. But he asked about all of you. And he listened. The kids exchanged glances. Then, without a word, they followed her to the field. Richard was placing bases on the ground when he looked up and saw the group approaching. He smiled, not the public smile he used at galas or ribbon cuttings, but something quieter, realer. Anna stepped forward. This is them. The ones who showed up that day. Richard nodded with respect. I remember. I don't think I've ever seen teamwork like that. Mari crossed her arms. We ain't soldiers. We're just kids. Exactly, Richard replied. And kids like you deserve more than broken sidewalks and empty promises. He turned toward the equipment van. I brought gear, not to buy your loyalty, just to show I'm serious. Jaden walked over to one of the bags and pulled out a glove. It's real, he muttered. Brand, new. Y'all brought snacks, Tino asked, digging into the cooler. Slow down, Anna said, stepping between them and Richard. We don't take handouts. Not unless you mean to stay. Richard met her gaze. I do. I want to help build a team. Not just for show. For real. Practices. Games. Maybe even tournaments someday. Mari raised an eyebrow. And what do you get out of it? He paused. A second chance. That shut everyone up. Richard continued. I built a lot of things, skyscrapers, shopping centers. But none of it means anything if kids like you are still out here trying to survive instead of getting to grow. Anna watched him carefully. Then she said, You still need a name for the team. He nodded. I was hoping you'd pick it. She smiled, small and proud. We're the Skyballs. Tino burst out laughing. That sounds like a superhero team. Jaden added, It's dope. Richard grinned. Then Skyballs at Island. A coach arrived around 1030, a wiry man named Coach Deshawn, who used to run a community league before funding dried up. He had a whistle, a booming voice, and a no-nonsense attitude. All right, Coach Deshawn shouted. Let's see what y'all can do. And just like that, practice began. Richard stayed on the sideline, watching. He saw Mari hit 3 line drives in a row, saw Jaden catch a pop fly that seemed impossible, saw Tino slide into third like he'd been born on a base path. But it was Anna who caught his eye most. She threw like a pitcher, twice her size, wrist loose, release sharp, form instinctual. Each ball she pitched thudded into the catcher's glove with surprising speed. Coach Deshawn nodded, impressed. She got arm strength and precision, needs footwork, but she's a natural. Richard smiled. After practice, the kids huddled on the bleachers, sweaty and laughing, slurping juice boxes and comparing blisters. Coach Deshawn scribbled notes into a folder. Richard stood by the van, gathering trash and handing out water bottles. Anna approached him slowly. You're really doing this? She asked. I am, he said. And not just for one day. She looked at him with her head tilted. You ever been on a team before? He paused. Not really. I was always the kid who worked alone. She nodded like she understood that more than he could know. Being captain's hard, she said. Is that what you are? Guess I gotta be. They trust me. He looked her in the eyes. Then I trust you too. The wind blew gently, warmer than usual for early spring. It rustled the tarp over the equipment and lifted the corner of the field chalk just enough to catch the light. Miss Loretta arrived at the edge of the lot, arms crossed, watching everything. She didn't smile, but she nodded once at Richard. He nodded back. Anna jogged over to her, grabbed her hand. You think this'll last? Loretta asked, her voice low. Anna shrugged. Don't know, but it feels real today. Miss Loretta gave her a long look. Then you hold on to that. Anna turned and looked back at the field. The Skyballs, her team, and maybe her future. 3 weeks passed. The Skyballs became more than just a name chalked on a fence. They had practiced twice a week, sometimes 3 when the weather held. Coach Deshawn ran drills like it was the major leagues, barking instructions and yelling encouragement like the field was sacred ground. Word spread. Kids from other blocks began showing up, not for handouts, but to watch. Some joined the team. Others just stood on the sidelines, leaning on chain-link fences with hopeful eyes, waiting for a chance. Richard was there for nearly every practice. Never late, never loud. He brought gear, snacks, water, and sometimes folding chairs for the elders who came to watch. But mostly, he watched Anna. He saw how she led without needing to shout. How the others looked to her when things got tense. How her arm had grown even stronger, her pitch more precise. One Wednesday afternoon, as the sun dipped low and the streetlights flickered to life, he stayed behind after practice. Anna was helping Coach Deshawn gather up equipment while the others filtered off, laughing and teasing each other. Miss Loretta sat in her usual chair near the fence, arms crossed, a wool blanket over her lap. She sipped sweet tea from a thermos and kept one eye on Richard at all times. Anna tossed a bat into the equipment bag and glanced over. You don't talk much when the team's around. Richard smiled faintly. I like listening. She came closer, standing beside the cooler. Her hands were dirty. One sock slouched low on her ankle. You ever play baseball? She asked. He shook his head. My father thought sports were a waste of time. Said business was the only game that mattered. Anna tilted her head. He wrong. Richard looked at her, then at the field behind them. Yeah, I think he was. There was a pause, quiet except for the distant rumble of a bus engine and someone arguing over rent in a nearby window. Then Anna asked, You gonna stay? He turned to her. I thought I already was. You show up, you give us stuff. But I mean, are you gonna stay? Stay, like, when it gets cold? Or when people start asking what you're doing in this neighborhood? Or when the money folks say it don't look good for your name? Richard didn't answer right away. He crouched down beside the cooler. resting his elbows on his knees. You're right to ask. Because truth is, people like me, we show up all the time. Take pictures. Make promises. And then we vanish when it's not shiny anymore. Anna didn't blink. But I'm not here for shiny, he continued. I'm here because a 6-year-old girl with scraped knees and a rubber ball saved my life. And because, for the first time in a long time, I want to be part of something I didn't build to make money. Anna considered that. You can't buy trust, she said flatly. He nodded. No, but maybe I can earn it. She looked up at him, searching his face for something: fear, dishonesty, weakness. She didn't find it. You want to help? She asked finally. Of course. Then stop looking like you're doing us a favor. That landed hard. He didn't flinch. Deal, he said quietly. Behind them, Miss Loretta let out a grunt that sounded almost like approval. The next day, things got more complicated. The Daily Observer ran a full-page photo of Richard at the field, hands in his pockets, sunglasses on, surrounded by kids in mismatched shirts and borrowed gloves. The headline read, "Billionaire builds baseball team in Forgotten Zone charity or PR stunt." His phone buzzed with texts from shareholders and colleagues. What's the angle here? Is this safe for your brand? We should have had media-trained statements before this got out. Meh. Even his personal assistant left a voicemail saying, should we loop in legal? He ignored them. But that afternoon, as he arrived at the lot with a new equipment bag, he noticed fewer kids around. Anna was there, sitting on the curb, tying her shoelaces slowly. Where is everyone? He asked. She didn't look up. Some parents said to stay home. He sat on the ground beside her. Why? They saw the paper. They think you using us. Richard's chest tightened. I didn't plant that story. Don't matter, she said. People think what they want. He sighed and ran a hand through his hair. What would make them believe I'm serious? Anna shrugged. You can't talk it away. Then what? You gotta show up. When it's raining. When it's hard. When it ain't fun anymore. You don't talk your way into trust. You show up. He nodded. Okay. That night, he canceled 3 meetings, told his assistant to prepare a community statement, not a press release, just a simple open letter to the neighborhood. No logos, no fluff, just honesty. By the weekend, he was at the lot again. In the rain, no cameras, no staff, just him, Coach Deshawn, and a dozen kids slipping on the wet dirt and laughing like it was summer. Anna was the last to arrive, soaked from the shoulders down, ponytail dripping. She saw him out there with a rake in one hand and a tarp in the other. She grinned. Miss Loretta watched from her usual spot, shaking her head. Rich folks usually melt in the rain, she muttered. Richard looked up, drenched and muddy, but smiling. We still practicing, he called out. Anna tossed her ball in the air and caught it clean. You bet we are, Coach Langston. And with that, practice began again. It started as a normal Sunday. Church bells rang down the avenue, pigeons bobbed along the sidewalk, and Miss Loretta was ironing her one good church dress by the window. The scent of cornbread cooling on the sill mixed with the warm hum of an old gospel song playing low on the radio. Anna was already lacing up her sneakers, bouncing her rubber ball off the cracked kitchen tiles. They were supposed to meet the team at the field by noon. Coach Deshawn had planned scrimmages and promised orange slices at halftime. Richard had even joked that he'd bring hot dogs if Anna agreed to let him try pitching. Just once, he said, holding up both hands like a kid asking for a turn. But Richard never showed up. By 12:45, the kids were restless. By 115, Coach Deshawn had them running laps just to keep their minds off it. By 200, the team sat in a loose circle around the dugout, chewing sunflower seeds and wondering what happened. Anna didn't say much, but her stomach felt tight. Richard had never missed a day, not once. Mari finally muttered what everyone else was thinking. Maybe he bailed, got tired of us. He wouldn't do that, Anna said immediately. Jaden snorted. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Coach Deshawn put a hand on her shoulder. It's okay, kiddo. He's probably just caught up with work. Anna stood. No, something's wrong. She sprinted out of the lot, ignoring their calls behind her. Anna didn't have a phone, but she remembered where Richard said his office was the downtown tower with mirrored windows that made the sky look like it was made of steel. She'd walked by it once, her nose pressed to the glass of a bakery across the street. She took 2 buses and walked 6 blocks, her heart pounding the whole way. When she got there, a uniformed doorman stepped in her path before she even reached the lobby. "Can I help you, sweetheart?" he asked, his tone polite but firm. "I'm here to see Richard Langston," she said. The doorman raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "Anna," she said simply. "He knows me." The man smiled like he was talking to a lost puppy. "I'm sure he does, but Mr. Langston hasn't been in the building today. In fact, I heard he was at Mercy General this morning. Got roughed up by someone outside his own place." Anna's blood turned to ice. "Hospital?" she asked. "Which one?" "Mercy General. Uptown." She turned and ran. By the time she arrived, her shirt was soaked with sweat, and her shoes were covered in grime. The hospital lobby smelled of antiseptic and whispers. A nurse at the desk looked at her suspiciously. "I need to see Richard Langston," Anna panted. "Please." The nurse blinked. "Family." Anna hesitated. "No. But I saved his life once." The nurse stared at her. "Wait here." Minutes passed. Then a tall, suited man with graying hair and sharp eyes approached. He introduced himself as Benjamin Hart, Richard's personal attorney. "You must be Anna," he said. She nodded, defiant. "Mr. Langston was attacked outside his building early this morning. Mugged. Nothing life-threatening, but some bruised ribs and a nasty cut above his eye. They're keeping him overnight for observation." Anna swallowed. "Can I see him?" Benjamin considered, then nodded. "Follow me." She was led through quiet corridors and up an elevator that smelled like lemon polish and fear. When they reached room 717, Benjamin opened the door gently. Richard was sitting up in bed, face pale, IV in his arm, bandage on his forehead. He looked tired, but when he saw Anna, he smiled. "You made it," he rasped. Anna stepped closer. "What happened?" "Guy with a knife," he said. "Wanted my watch." Anna frowned. "You gave it to him, right?" Richard chuckled, then winced. "Eventually, but not before he landed a few punches." Anna climbed onto the chair beside his bed. "You shouldn't fight back." "I know," he said. "I thought about what you'd do. You'd probably use a baseball." She cracked a small smile. "I'd never let him get close." He reached over and patted her hand. "You're probably smarter than me." Silence settled between them for a moment. Then he said, "I was on my way to the field. Had a surprise for the team." What kind of surprise?" Richard looked toward his coat hanging on the wall. "Check the inside pocket." She got up, rifled through it, and pulled out a folded envelope. Inside were papers official, with seals and signatures. She scanned the words slowly: Langston Youth Sports Foundation, Skyballs League Charter, Community Grant Application Pre-Approved. Her jaw dropped. "You made it real," she whispered. "I told you," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere." Anna stared at him. "You still gonna be our coach?" He smiled. "Only if I get pitching lessons." She laughed. "Deal." That night, Anna returned to the lot with the papers in her hand. Coach Deshawn gathered the team. She stood in the middle of the dirt diamond, holding the envelope high. "He's okay," she announced, "and the Skyballs are official." Cheers erupted. Someone threw a ball in the air. Jaden whooped. Mari screamed. Even Coach Deshawn clapped his hands once and smiled. For a moment, the field glowed with hope, and in a quiet hospital room across town, Richard Langston closed his eyes and, for the first time in years, slept without dreams of steel towers or boardrooms, only of kids with grit, a team with heart, and one small girl who'd never stop believing. Richard Langston was discharged from Mercy General on a cloudy Thursday afternoon. The sky hung low, thick with the kind of gray that made the city feel heavy. He stepped out of the hospital's glass doors slowly, wincing with each step. One hand on his side where bruised ribs still ached beneath the bandage. Waiting at the curb, with arms folded and lips pursed like she had something to say but hadn't decided when to say it, was Miss Loretta. He froze when he saw her. Not out of fear, out of respect. "Miss Loretta," he said gently, adjusting his coat. She didn't move. You look like a man who finally learned he ain't bulletproof. Richard gave a wry smile. Not even close. You got a ride? She asked, eyes narrowing. I called a car. She turned on her heel and walked toward a rusty blue sedan parked near the curb. Cancel it. Richard blinked. Pardon. You heard me. You riding with me. With no room for argument, he followed. The drive was slow and quiet. Miss Loretta drove with both hands on the wheel and a righteous scowl on her face. No music. No small talk. Just the rhythmic click of the blinker at every stop sign. After 10 minutes, she pulled into her neighborhood and parked in front of the familiar brick walk-up. I ain't inviting you to dinner, she said as he stepped out. You're already expected. Richard raised an eyebrow. Expected? She gave him a look. Anna made peach cobbler. You think she'd do that for just the team? Inside the apartment, the scent hit him like a memory, warm sugar, cinnamon, and something softer he couldn't name. The living room was small but alive, cluttered with crocheted blankets, old photographs, and the gentle murmur of a TV playing some vintage sitcom. Anna was on the floor with a notebook in her lap and a pencil behind her ear. She looked up when he entered and nodded like she was checking attendance. You made it, she said. Thanks to your grandmother's driving, he replied, lowering himself gingerly into a chair. You still look like a squished sandwich, she noted. He grinned, feeling better already. Miss Loretta handed him a glass of sweet tea. You eat first. Then we talk business. They ate quietly, cobbler still warm, buttery and soft in the middle with that crispy crust on top. Richard hadn't had a home-cooked meal in years, not one like this. Not one that tasted like someone cared. When the plates were scraped clean, Anna stood and grabbed the notebook. I've been working on the team stuff, she announced. Uniform colors, snack schedules, positions, rules like no fighting unless someone calls your mama names. Richard chuckled. That seems fair. But there's more, she continued. We need somewhere permanent. The lot's okay, but we need lights, a backstop, bleacher stuff that don't blow away when it rains. Richard nodded. I've already started talking to the city about it. I can fund the renovations, but we'll need community backing. Letters, signatures. I was hoping you'd help. Anna looked at Miss Loretta, then back at him. You want me to help you convince the grown-ups. You've got their trust, he said simply. More than I do, Miss Loretta snorted softly. He's not wrong. Anna smiled at that. I'll talk to the barbershop and the church, she said. Pastor Gray always listens when I bring cobbler. Smart girl, Richard said. Anna leaned in. But I want something in writing. Richard blinked. Like a contract. She nodded. Something that says if you ever try to sell the team or the field or turn it into a parking lot, we get to keep it. He grinned. You want veto power. I want ownership, she said. Richard looked at her, this 6-year-old with chipped nail polish, scabbed knees, and more business sense than most of his boardroom. I'll draw it up, he said. Anna sat back satisfied. Good. Miss Loretta took the plates to the sink. That girl's gonna run the world one day. She already is, Richard said quietly. Later that night, as he walked out the door, he paused on the stoop. Miss Loretta. She turned in the doorway. I never said thank you, he said, for trusting me with her. Miss Loretta looked up at the sky, then at him. I didn't, she said. Not yet. Then she smiled. Just a little. But you're getting close. As he walked down the street, the stars were starting to peek out between the clouds. His side ached. His mind buzzed. But for the first time since he could remember, Richard Langston wasn't walking away from something. He was walking toward it. Toward a team. Toward a community. Toward something real. Thursday evening came too fast for Anna. She'd been practicing her speech in the mirror all day, smoothing out the parts where she stumbled over words like zoning and community grant proposal. Miss Loretta said she sounded like a politician. Anna didn't know if that was a compliment. The town committee meeting was held at Roosevelt Community Center, a squat brick building that smelled like pencil shavings and old carpet. The last time Anna had been there, she was 5 and had gotten kicked out of story time for throwing a foam football at the librarian. Tonight was different. She wore her cleanest shirt, the blue one with the tiny sunflowers, and jeans with only one rip in the knee. Her sneakers were scrubbed nearly white. Richard had offered to pick her up in his car, but she said no. If they were going to take her seriously, she had to walk in on her own 2 feet. When she arrived, the folding chairs were already filling up. Older residents fanned themselves with church bulletins. Mr. Townsend from the barber shop was seated near the front, nodding slowly while sipping from a thermos. Coach Deshawn was by the wall, arms crossed, his whistle dangling like it always did. Richard stood in the back in a navy blazer, quiet and still. He didn't speak, didn't wave. He just watched. Anna took the seat beside Miss Loretta, who was already glaring at the committee table like it owed her money. At exactly 6:00 p.m., the meeting began. The head of the neighborhood committee, a tall woman with silver hair named Councilwoman Ruth Ellis, tapped her microphone and smiled at the room. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we'll be reviewing several proposals, street light repairs, community garden expansion, and one new business item brought forward by Mr. Richard Langston and his co-presenter. She looked at Anna. Anna stood. Go on, baby, Miss Loretta whispered. Anna took a deep breath and walked to the front of the room. Her legs felt like sticks. Her palms were damp. But when she turned to face the crowd, she straightened her shoulders. My name is Anna Washington. I'm 6 years old. I live on Harper Street with my grandma. Some of the people chuckled softly. I'm here because our team, the Skyballs, needs a real field. The lot behind Roosevelt is okay, but it ain't safe. There's glass in the dirt, the fence has holes, and we can't practice at night because there ain't no lights. A few heads nodded. We don't want handouts. We just want a chance. Mr. Langston said he'd pay to fix the field everything. But the city got to approve it. And that's why we're here. She reached into her pocket and unfolded a paper handwritten, with 22 names signed in crooked print. This is from us, the kids who play there, the ones who help clean it up. We ain't just messing around. We're building something. She looked directly at Councilwoman Ellis. Please let us. The room was quiet. Councilwoman Ellis smiled. Thank you, Miss Washington. Very well spoken. Then she turned to Richard. Mr. Langston, would you like to add anything? He stood and walked to Anna's side. He didn't bring a speech or charts or lawyers. Just a voice. I'm not here as a CEO tonight, he said. I'm here as a man who got knocked to the ground in an alley and watched a 6-year-old girl stand between me and danger. A murmur moved through the room. I've built 100 buildings, he continued, but nothing has meant more than watching these kids form a team out of dust and cardboard bases. He looked at Anna. They've already done the hard part. All I'm asking is that we help them finish it. There was silence. Then someone clapped. Slow, firm. It was Mr. Townsend from the barber shop. Let him have the field, he said. Lord knows we ain't used it for anything else since '94. More voices joined in. Coach Deshawn gave a sharp whistle of support. A woman from the back raised her hand to offer her gardening club's help with cleanup. Councilwoman Ellis held up her hands. We'll take a vote. It passed, unanimously. Anna's heart thudded so loud she couldn't hear the rest. Miss Loretta squeezed her shoulder so hard it nearly popped out of place. After the meeting, people gathered around Richard and Anna, shaking hands, offering help, asking when the renovations would begin. But Anna stepped outside for air. The night was cool and quiet, stars peeking through the city haze. She stood on the sidewalk alone, gripping the signed petition like a trophy. Richard joined her after a minute. You were incredible, he said. She didn't look at him, just stared up at the moon. They listened. They did, he said. Anna turned to him. You think they'll still listen if something goes wrong? He hesitated. Sometimes, not always. She nodded, like she already knew that. But I'll still be here, he added. She looked at him. For how long? Richard didn't answer right away. Then he crouched down so they were eye level. Until you tell me to leave. She studied him. Okay. Behind them, the community center lights glowed like a promise. And in the quiet, something stronger than a contract passed between them, something built not from paper or money, but from trust earned inch by inch. Spring hit the neighborhood like a choir on Sunday morning, loud, colorful, and full of unexpected harmony. Flowers bloomed through sidewalk cracks. windows flung open to let in the breeze. Even the lot behind Roosevelt began to look less like a forgotten patch of earth and more like a ball field with purpose. The fence had been repaired. A fresh layer of dirt softened the ground. New bases gleamed like ivory stones, and a faded metal scoreboard had been repainted by the kids themselves, each number stenciled with careful pride. Work crews, all local hires, came in shifts. And every afternoon, Anna showed up early to oversee it all. Hands on hips like a miniature foreman, Richard joked that she needed a hard hat. Miss Loretta said she needed a payroll. One Thursday afternoon, while the team ran warm-ups and Coach Deshawn barked through a megaphone he absolutely did not need, Anna noticed a boy standing at the far end of the fence. He was about 10, tall for his age, with worn jeans and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. He held a cracked basketball under one arm and leaned against the post like he didn't care about any of it except that he hadn't moved in 15 minutes. Anna jogged over. "You lost?" she asked. He didn't answer. "You looking for someone?" Still nothing. She squinted. "You ever play baseball?" That got a flicker of a smirk. "Too slow," he muttered. "I like real games." Anna crossed her arms. "This is a real game." He shrugged. "Guess it's cute." Anna didn't get mad. She just tilted her head. "You ever throw anything besides shade?" The boy chuckled. "I'm Tyrek." "Anna." They stood there for a beat. "Tryouts next week," she said. "I didn't say I wanted in." "You didn't say you didn't." He looked at the team laughing across the field. "Maybe," he mumbled. "We'll see." Anna nodded once. "Don't wait too long. Spots are filling up." That night, while locking up the gear shed with Richard, Anna mentioned the encounter. "Another kid?" he asked, smiling. "Yeah, got a little edge to him. Remind you of someone?" She gave him a look. "Maybe." The next day, the window of Richard's office above the field was smashed. Glass lay scattered across the floor. The screen of his laptop was spider-webbed with cracks. A baseball bat, one of the practice ones from the equipment bin, lay abandoned in the corner. Police were called, photos taken, nothing stolen, just damage. Deliberate. Richard stood in silence, arms crossed, jaw set. The officer offered standard guesses: random vandalism, maybe someone mad about the renovations, a neighborhood dispute. But Richard wasn't buying it. He looked down at the bat. "Anna," he said quietly, "can you get the team together?" Within 15 minutes, the kids stood lined up near the dugout, the field behind them bright under the newly installed lights. They were still in dusty cleats, sweaty shirts, and mismatched socks, but their faces were serious. Anna stood in front, arms tight across her chest. Richard cleared his throat. "Someone broke into the office last night," he said, voice calm but firm. "Nothing stolen, but the damage was personal." No one spoke. "I'm not accusing anyone. But I'm not gonna lie, either. This hurts. I've put everything I have into this project, not just money, but time, my name, my heart." He looked out at the team. "I'm not asking for confessions. I'm asking for honesty. If you know something, anything, tell me." Silence. Then quietly, a voice said, "It was Tyrek." Heads turned. It was Jaden. "I saw him. Yesterday. He was near the office door. Looked nervous. I didn't think nothing of it." Anna's stomach dropped. Richard nodded. "Thank you for being honest." After practice, Anna found Tyrek leaning against the fence again. Same hoodie, same smirk. She didn't waste time. "You break the window." Tyrek didn't answer. She stepped closer. "You did, didn't you?" He finally met her eyes. "Why do you care?" "Because you don't just get to come around, mess with what we built, and disappear." Tyrek's jaw clenched. "I didn't steal nothing. That don't make it right." He looked away. "You think this place is real? You think that rich man's gonna be here next year when they raise taxes or when something better comes along?" Anna didn't flinch. "He already stayed longer than anyone else." Tyrek kicked at a rock. "Y'all think this is a miracle. It's just a trick." She stepped closer. "You scared?" He snapped his head toward her. "No." "Then come clean." He didn't move. "I'm not gonna tell anyone what you say," she added. "But you gotta say it." He looked down. "I thought he was lying," he whispered. "Thought if I broke something, he'd leave." Thought if I smashed his window, he'd forget about all this. Anna nodded slowly, but he didn't. No, Tyrek said quietly. He didn't. She reached into her backpack and handed him a ball. Tryouts are Tuesday, she said. Come throw with me, see if the game's real. He looked at the ball in his hand like it might explode. I'm not good, he mumbled. You think I was born throwing strikes? He gave a weak laugh. Kinda. Anna cracked a grin. Nobody's born knowing anything. We learn. That's what teams do. The next day, Tyrek was at practice. Quiet, unsure. But there, he stood in the outfield, threw like a kid trying not to care too much. But each time he caught the ball, his eyes lit up a little more. Richard watched from the sideline. Miss Loretta beside him. You knew he'd show up, she said. I hoped. Loretta sipped her tea. Hope's a good place to start. But trust. That's harder. Richard nodded. I've got time. And as the sun dipped behind the bleachers and the kids shouted across the dirt, the skyballs grew by one more player, not perfect, not polished, but present. And that, for now, was enough. The letter arrived on a Monday. Miss Loretta found it wedged in the screen door, stuffed between a flyer for discounted tires and a pink envelope advertising a free back massage. Unlike the others, this envelope was thick. White, no return address, but printed in fine, serif font Richard Langston. She opened it with a steak knife, slow and cautious like it might explode. Inside was a single sheet of creamy paper and a smaller sealed envelope, marked private for Anna Washington. She read the letter once, then again. Her eyes narrowed, lips pressed tight, and then she tucked it under her arm, stepped into her sneakers, and marched down the stairs with a purpose. Anna was already outside on the stoop, bouncing her ball against the sidewalk. Loretta handed her the envelope. It's from your rich friend. Got something personal in there for you. Anna took it. Hey, okay. He's fine. But he's been invited uptown. Anna frowned. Uptown. Loretta handed her the main letter. Read it. Anna did. To Miss Loretta and Anna Washington, I hope this letter finds you both well. I've been contacted by the Young Innovators Gala, an annual charity event hosted in uptown Manhattan. It's a fancy affair. Suits and champagne. But they've asked me to speak about the Skyballs, how a group of neighborhood kids and one exceptional girl sparked something real. They want to give us a community grant. A big one. Enough to build a permanent facility. Indoor training space, classrooms, scholarships. But I won't do it without Anna. They want to meet her. Hear from her. The gala is Saturday. If she says yes, I'll arrange everything. A ride. Clothes. A spot at the podium next to mine. Only if she wants to. With respect and admiration, Richard Langston. Anna looked up, her stomach turned. You gonna go? Loretta asked, folding her arms. I don't know. They want you to talk. Anna nodded. On stage, with a microphone. Loretta chuckled. Lord help him. Anna shot her a look. It's not funny. I don't do fancy. I ain't never been in a room full of rich people who know how to eat food with 3 forks. You're not going there to use forks, Loretta said. You're going to speak the truth. And ain't nobody better at that than you. Anna hesitated. What if they laugh? Then you throw a speech better than you throw a ball. That made Anna smile. A little. By Saturday evening, Anna had a dress. It wasn't glittery, no tiara. Just a clean navy blue dress with short sleeves and a tiny silver belt. She wore her sneakers white, scrubbed clean and a little butterfly clip in her hair. She refused makeup. Said it felt like glue. Richard picked her up in a town car. He wore a gray suit with no tie, his collar open, a small smile on his face. The driver opened the door, and Anna slid in beside him with her ball tucked under one arm. I'm bringing this, she announced. Richard looked at it. In case there's a game, in case someone needs reminding. He nodded, smart. The ride was quiet. Tall buildings rolled past the window, blinking with lights like stars pretending to be important. Anna stared at them with wide eyes. When they arrived, the lobby glistened like a jewelry box. gold trim, marble floors, people in gowns and tuxedos. Waiters carried silver trays with tiny food that looked too pretty to eat. Anna froze. Richard leaned down. "You okay?" She nodded. But her hand tightened around the ball. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers sparkled above linen-covered tables. A jazz band played soft and distant, like a memory. They were seated near the front. Name cards read, Mr. Richard Langston and Miss Anna Washington. She looked around. Most of the people looked like Richard older. Polished, pale-skinned. No scuffed sneakers. No patched knees. No street in their smiles. A woman in a sequin dress leaned over and whispered, "Is that his daughter?" Another replied, "Maybe a scholarship kid." Anna heard both. She didn't flinch. When it was time, the MC stepped up and tapped the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this year's keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, Richard Langston." Applause. Richard took the stage, thanked the organizers, gave a short speech about reinvesting in forgotten communities, and how sometimes the most valuable things don't come from boardrooms, but from blacktops and broken fences. Then he paused. "There's someone here tonight who taught me that." He looked to the table. "Anna, would you join me?" The spotlight followed her. Anna stood slowly. Her feet felt like bricks. Her throat tight. But she walked. Up the stairs. Onto the stage. Richard handed her the mic. She stared at it. Then at the crowd. Dozens of suits. Dozens of eyes. She took a breath. "My name's Anna Washington," she began. "I'm 6. I live with my grandma. I play baseball." A ripple of chuckles. "I used to think rich people didn't care. That they just drove by. Rolled up their windows. But then one got attacked in my alley. And didn't leave." She held up her ball. This saved him. Not 'cause it's magic. But 'cause I didn't wait. I didn't freeze. I threw. A pause. Now we got a team. The Skyballs. We got friends. We got coach. We got a future. But we need help. Not just money, faith. She looked right at the front table. "Don't give us charity. Give us a shot." Silence. Then applause. It started small, one person, then 2, then everyone, standing, cheering. Anna handed the mic back to Richard and walked off the stage. Later that night, while eating 2 chocolate truffles with both hands, she asked, "You think we got the grant?" Richard laughed. "I think we got a whole lot more than that." Spring stretched into summer like an old dog waking from a nap, lazy, warm, and full of quiet joy. The city heat clung to buildings and sidewalks, making the pavement shimmer, and the sound of kids laughing echoed through the Roosevelt lot like gospel in an empty church. But it wasn't just a lot anymore. 3 weeks after the gala, the grant came through official, signed, sealed, and backed by the city council. Construction moved fast. Trucks came in at dawn, hauling in sod and fencing, concrete and chalk. Bleachers rose from the dust like silver teeth. A small brick clubhouse appeared behind home plate, complete with locker rooms, a tiny office, and a mural painted by local kids. And above the dugout, a polished wood sign read, "The Anna Washington Community Field. Throw when it matters." Anna didn't know about the sign until the unveiling. She stood beside Richard, wearing her Skyballs jersey and her usual sneakers, chewing the end of a red licorice rope. A crowd had gathered: neighbors, city officials, volunteers, even a few news cameras. Coach Deshawn wiped his forehead with a towel, and Miss Loretta fanned herself like she was warding off the devil himself. The mayor gave a short speech, mostly forgettable, full of phrases like youth investment and underserved promise zones. Then he turned to Richard with a wink and said, "And of course, thanks to our favorite unexpected philanthropist." Then he pulled the cloth from the sign. Gasps. Applause. Anna stared at it. Then at Richard. "You did that?" He smiled. "The city wanted to name it after me. I said I'd only agree if they got it right." Anna blinked. "You didn't even ask me." I figured you'd be mad either way," he said, "so I picked the option that made me smile." She stepped forward, stared up at her name carved in wood, her jaw tightening like she didn't know how to feel. Then she whispered, "That's a lot of pressure." Good, Richard said. Means you'll take it seriously. That afternoon, the Skyballs played their first real game on their own field. Uniforms were mismatched, bats worn, but the pride was palpable. Richard threw the ceremonial first pitch, and Anna caught it clean, crouched like a pro behind home plate. Her mitt popped so loud it made 2 of the city council members jump. Tyrek played right field and caught a fly ball that made the crowd erupt. Jaden hit a double and slid into second so hard he ripped his pants. Mari struck out twice but cheered louder than anyone else. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. After the game, with dusk settling in and the scent of grilled hot dogs hanging in the air, Anna sat alone on the bleachers. Her jersey was streaked with dirt, her knees scraped, but her face held the stillness of someone thinking bigger thoughts than her age should allow. Richard approached quietly, holding 2 cold sodas. He handed her one. Not bad out there. I dropped a ball, she muttered. He sat beside her. You also threw 2 runners out. She nodded. Still, you know, he said, cracking open his soda. When I was your age, I used to think success meant winning all the time. That being perfect was the goal. Anna sipped. It's not. He shook his head. Success is staying on the field even after you fall. She looked at him. Sounds like something from a movie. It's from a hospital bed, he said quietly. They sat in silence a while. The field lights hummed. The other kids ran around with popsicles and towels draped over their shoulders like capes. Then Anna asked, You ever gonna leave? Richard blinked. Why? Just seems like people like you don't stay. They help. Then they go back to where it's safe. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, You want the truth? Always. I thought I'd be here 6 days, maybe 7, just long enough to get stitched up and write a check. And now, he looked around. Now I own a pair of cleats and know every kid on this team by name. I can't go back to boardrooms after this. They don't cheer when you steal second base. Anna cracked a small smile. So you're staying, as long as you'll have me. They shook on it. The next day, something unexpected happened. A reporter showed up. Her name was Sheila Park, from Channel 4 News, and she wore a camera like a necklace. She interviewed Richard first, then Coach Deshawn, then finally asked, Can we talk to Anna? Anna squinted at the lens. What for? People want to hear your story. Why now? Sheila smiled. Because it's a good one. And because someone your age doing what you're doing. That's rare. Anna stood tall. I'm not doing it for attention. We know. Then don't spin it. Sheila blinked. Excuse me. I'm not a mascot, Anna said. This ain't some fairy tale. It's hard work. My grandma wakes up at 5 a.m. just to get me fed and ready. My team ain't perfect, but we show up. You want to tell that story, fine, but tell it right. The reporter was quiet for a beat. Then she nodded. You have my word. That night, the story aired. A 5-minute segment on The Girl Who Threw for Justice. Footage of Anna at the field. Of the mural. Of Richard sweeping the dugout like any regular dad. By Monday morning, donations poured in. Gloves. Jerseys. Bats. Pizza coupons. One man offered to paint portraits of each player as superheroes. Anna rolled her eyes, but inside, she smiled. Because now they weren't just surviving. They were building. Summer nights had a rhythm now. The field came alive at dusk, glowing under bright stadium lights. The hum of laughter mixed with the thud of balls hitting gloves and the sharp crack of aluminum bats. Parents sat in folding chairs. Miss Loretta sold lemonade from a cooler strapped with a handmade pay-what-you-can sign. Even the mayor dropped by once to throw a wildly crooked pitch that nearly knocked over the umpire. But on the first Thursday of July, the lights didn't come on. At 6:47 p.m., with the kids in mid-stretch and Coach Deshawn about to start warm-ups, the field sat in unexpected darkness. The sun was dipping, casting long shadows across second base. The control panel in the clubhouse showed a blinking red error light. Richard jogged over, fiddled with the switches, then frowned. That's odd. Anna stood by the dugout, arms crossed. Maybe a fuse. He shook his head. We're on a city grid. These lights are priority power. They're supposed to stay on even in an outage. By 710, the entire field was dim. The clubhouse lights flickered once, then died. The team gathered near the first base line, jerseys glowing faintly in the twilight. A breeze stirred, but it brought unease, not relief. Then Miss Loretta's voice called out from the stands. "Rich boy, you might want to come take a look at this." Richard ran up the bleachers. She pointed across the street where the rest of the neighborhood lights hummed as usual. Street lamps, stores, even the flickering TV in Old Man Ray's apartment window. Only the field was dark, very dark. That's when the email hit. Richard's phone buzzed. A message from the Parks and Recreation Department. Subject: immediate notice of suspension. Due to a pending review of operational permits and zoning compliance, all activities at the Anna Washington Community Field must cease immediately. Lighting and utilities have been suspended, pending further inspection. Any attempts to override the system will be met with legal enforcement. Office of City Infrastructure Oversight. Richard's eyes narrowed. He read it twice. Anna looked up at him. "What's wrong?" He passed her the phone. She read it. Her small face darkened. "This is because of the news story," she said. "Someone didn't like seeing us win." Richard nodded slowly. "Could be." Coach Deshawn blew his whistle, gathering the kids. "All right, y'all. Field's out. We're not risking injuries in low light. That means no drills tonight." The groans were instant. Anna looked at Richard. "You said the permits were good." "They were. I double-checked everything." Then this isn't about permits." He said nothing, but she could see it in his face. This was political. Someone somewhere had pulled a lever they weren't supposed to. That night, after walking home in silence, Anna sat on the stoop with her bat across her lap. She stared at the dark field. Coach Deshawn joined her with 2 bottles of root beer. "Want one?" She took it. "You know," he said, settling beside her, "in '92, we built a half court on this same spot. Took us a whole summer. Paint, nets, you name it. By September, city came and bulldozed it. Said we never had permission." Anna sipped. "Did you?" "Nope," he admitted. "But we had people, and they still knocked it down." She didn't say anything. He leaned forward. "But this time, you did it right. Permits, funding, community. This ain't a fight about rules, Anna. It's a fight about who gets to make the rules." She looked at him. "So what do we do?" "You throw." She turned to him. "You throw harder, louder. You make it so they can't ignore you. And if they do," he raised his bottle, "you throw anyway." She looked back at the field. The next morning, Richard was already on the phone before sunrise, calling lawyers, city clerks, council members. Some offered sympathy. Others redirected him to voicemails. A few hinted off-record that a city official, one with political ambitions, had been uncomfortable with the attention the field was getting. "Why?" Richard asked. "They say it looks like you're stirring things up," one source muttered. "Too much spotlight on one little neighborhood." That night, Anna called an emergency team meeting in the parking lot next to the field. Flashlights, clipboards, a makeshift chalkboard leaning against a tree. She stood on a milk crate. "They shut off our lights. That's what they did. But they didn't shut us off." Jaden raised his hand. "So, what now?" Anna took a breath. "We fight. Not with bats. Not with spray paint. We fight with the truth." She pulled out sheets of paper. Petitions, signatures, letters to council members, videos. "We show them who we are, what this field means." Mari whispered. "You think they'll listen?" Anna didn't hesitate. "They won't have a choice." And so, it began. Kids canvassed door to door. Coach Deshawn reached out to old players, old coaches. Miss Loretta wrote a letter that nearly melted the ink off the page with its fury. Richard contacted journalists, talked to lawyers, spoke to the mayor's office directly. Every night, the field remained dark, but the noise around it grew brighter. On the 7th night, someone brought a truck, an old pickup, rusty and loud but fitted with 4 mounted floodlights on the bed. It parked beside the field, lights beaming high, illuminating the base paths. Kids ran out, balls flew, laughter returned. They didn't wait for permission. They played, under bootleg lights, on borrowed time. On a field that bore the name of a girl who wouldn't be quiet. And somewhere in a tall city building, an inbox began to flood. With signatures, videos, pleas, with truth. By the second week of the blackout, the city could no longer pretend they didn't hear the noise. It had grown too loud. The flood of letters, the nightly videos of kids playing under borrowed truck lights, the viral hashtag number "Let Them Play" had made its way onto news broadcasts, school boards, even talk radio. People weren't just paying attention. They were angry. But anger alone doesn't get you in the room. That's where Miss Loretta came in. At 1003 a.m., on a humid Tuesday, she walked right into the marble-walled lobby of City Hall wearing her Sunday best and a wide-brimmed red hat that said she didn't come to ask politely. At her side was Anna, holding a folder stuffed with signatures, photos, and a printed-out copy of the building's permit approval highlighted in orange, underlined 3 times. Behind them, Richard Langston, in a tailored suit, no tie, hands in his pockets, looking less like a CEO and more like a man who had nothing left to prove but still everything to fight for. "We have an appointment," Loretta told the receptionist, handing over a neatly folded letter from the mayor's office. 10:15, council meeting. The receptionist blinked. "With the Committee on Zoning and Infrastructure." Loretta smiled sweetly. "Yes, baby. And don't worry, we brought our own notes." Upstairs, the conference room was all glass and power-long tables, polished chairs, and a dozen officials in suits that cost more than Loretta's rent. They looked up when Anna walked in, slightly confused, slightly amused. A child in a ball cap wasn't what they expected. Richard stood behind her but let her lead. Councilwoman Reeves, chair of the zoning committee, tapped her pen against her notes. "Let's begin. Mr. Langston, we've reviewed the complaint against your project." "It's not his project," Anna interrupted, stepping forward. "It's ours." The room shifted, eyebrows raised. Reeves paused. "And you are?" "Anna Washington, 6, co-founder of the Skyballs, captain of the team, namesake of the field." She slid the folder onto the table. "These are signatures. From neighbors, teachers, business owners, people who use the field, who see it, who need it." Reeves glanced through the pages. Expression unreadable. "You're aware your project was flagged for non-compliance?" Anna nodded. "That's why we're here. To fix it. Not shut it down." Richard stepped forward now. Calm. Measured. "The permit was approved. We followed every process. This review only started after the gala story aired. So if we're being honest, this isn't about zoning, it's about discomfort." Councilman Briggs cleared his throat. "Mr. Langston, this is a public resource. It can't revolve around personal charity." Richard didn't flinch. "It's not charity. It's community investment. A privately funded, publicly shared space. No strings, no fees, just opportunity." Anna turned to Briggs. "You ever play on a broken field with cracked dirt and no lights?" He blinked. "We did," she continued, "but now we got something better, and instead of helping us keep it, you turned off the lights." Murmurs moved around the table. Councilwoman Reeves sighed. "The reality is, when small projects get big attention, they draw scrutiny. We have procedures, so follow them," Anna said. "Inspect the field, fine, but turn the lights back on while you do." Loretta leaned in, arms folded. "Unless, of course, y'all are just scared of what it means when a poor, black girl and a rich, white man decide to build something that works." That landed hard. The room fell silent. Then, slowly, Councilwoman Reeves closed the folder. "You'll have your inspection," she said. "Effective immediately. If nothing's out of code, power will be restored." "And if it is?" Anna asked. Reeves looked at her. "Then we fix it. Together." As they walked out, Anna exhaled for the first time in 10 minutes. "That was scary," she admitted. Loretta smiled. "Good. Change usually island." That night, the lights stayed off. Inspections take time. Red tape takes longer. But something had shifted. The air felt lighter. The tension loosened. Coach Deshawn gathered the kids near the bleachers. "No drills tonight," he said. "But we do got something to celebrate." He pointed to a crate near home plate. Inside, glow sticks. Dozens of them. Blue, green, yellow, pink. The kids grabbed them, snapping them to life. They taped them to bats, laced them into shoes, wore them as necklaces and bracelets. Then they played. It was clumsy, chaotic, hilarious, but it was light. Anna stood on the pitcher's mound, glowing bracelets up to her elbows, the ball in her hand. She looked out at the outfield, Richard with a glove, Loretta sitting in a lawn chair behind third base, Coach with a whistle in his teeth and glow tape on his sneakers. Then she threw, right down the middle. The night burst with laughter, because no matter what came next, inspections, delays, more red tape, they weren't just fighting for a field. They were already playing on one. The next morning came with unexpected news. A black SUV pulled up in front of the field around 8:30 a.m. Tires crackling over the gravel like it didn't belong, and maybe it didn't. The windows were tinted. The license plate had a government seal, the kind that made people pause. Anna was crouched near second base, drawing the outline of a practice drill in the dirt with a stick. When she saw it, she stood slowly, narrowed her eyes, and called out, "Mr. Richard." He was already walking out of the clubhouse, clipboard in hand, but the car made him freeze. The back door opened. A tall man stepped out. Crisp suit, shiny shoes, the kind of smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Mr. Langston," he said, extending a hand. "I'm David Kellerman, Office of City Development." Richard didn't shake his hand right away. "This isn't part of the inspection team." "No," Kellerman said, smile still fixed. "I'm not here for measurements or wiring. I'm here to talk, privately." Anna, standing nearby with her arms crossed, didn't move. Richard looked at her, then back at the man. "She stays." Kellerman hesitated, then shrugged. "Very well." They sat on the bleachers. The morning sun cast long shadows across the field. Kids were beginning to arrive in pairs and groups, tossing balls, dragging equipment. Their laughter distant but persistent. "I'll get to the point," Kellerman began. "This field, it's gotten attention. Public, political, and inconvenient." "Inconvenient to who?" Anna asked. He glanced at her. "To people who don't like stories they can't control." Richard leaned forward. "So what's the message here, David? That we're making the wrong kind of headlines?" Kellerman exhaled through his nose. "You're making headlines that don't align with upcoming agendas." "Like what?" Anna said. "Hope." Kellerman finally looked at her directly. "You're a bright girl, Miss Washington, but you're playing a game that's bigger than baseball. Then maybe it's time y'all learn to lose," she said. Richard hid a smirk. Kellerman kept his calm. "Let me offer you something. Relocation." Richard's smile vanished. "You're joking." "I'm not. The city has a new sports complex being built across town. State of the art. We can move your program there. More funding, bigger reach. You get everything you want, just somewhere less visible." Anna stared. "You mean somewhere quiet? Somewhere less loud?" Kellerman stood. "Think it over. The city is willing to help, but help comes easiest to those who cooperate." He walked back to the car. The engine purred, and then it was gone. Richard sat back, jaw clenched. Anna didn't blink. "They want to erase us." He nodded. "They want the story, not the truth." She looked out across the field. "They're scared." He turned. "Of what?" She met his eyes. "That people like us don't need people like them anymore." That afternoon, the inspection team arrived. Clipboards, scanners, measuring tape. They examined everything. Richard had prepared binders. Coach had labeled every outlet. Miss Loretta baked cookies for the city staff, but only if y'all inspect honest, she warned. By evening, the report was filed compliant, clean, safe. The power was reinstated. The lights came on one by one as the sun dipped low. First base, outfield, pitcher's mound, dugout. Cheers rang out, but Richard's smile was tired. He sat alone near the third base line, elbows on knees, head bowed. Anna approached, kneeling beside him. "You okay?" He nodded. "Just tired of fighting shadows." She nudged him. "We're not done yet. You still want to stay here?" Anna looked around. "This is our place. You know what's coming, right? More pushback, more politics, maybe even dirt digging." Anna didn't flinch. "Let them dig. I sleep on the top bunk. eat canned ravioli, and throw fastballs better than most adults. Ain't no secret there. Richard chuckled. She added, "Besides, I ain't the one who used to date a pop singer." He gave her a look. "How'd you?" Loretta reads tabloids. They both laughed. That night, Richard called a community meeting at the field. Neighbors, parents, volunteers. They gathered in folding chairs near home plate, the field lights glowing warm above them. Richard stood on the mound. "I got approached today," he began. "Offered a relocation deal, new facility, better funding, fewer eyes." Murmurs rippled. He held up a hand. We said no. Applause broke out. Whistles, claps. He waited for it to die down. "I said no because this isn't just a field. It's a statement. That kids in this neighborhood matter. That justice ain't seasonal. That investment shouldn't require silence." Anna stood beside him now, looking out at the crowd. "We've got more games ahead," she said, "and not all of them will be on the field. But we ain't scared. Not of darkness, not of power." Coach Deshawn hollered from the bleachers. "We are scared of Tyrik's aim, though." Laughter erupted. Tyrik raised both hands. "Hey, I'm improving." Anna grinned. "Even that's proof. We're all improving." Richard looked at her. "You're ready, aren't you?" "For what?" He smiled. "For the next level." "Hi." The Saturday air buzzed with the heat of late July, thick and heavy like a sermon about to catch fire. The stands were fuller than usual. Folding chairs lined up all the way to the old chain-link fence. People fanning themselves with church programs, water bottles pressed against necks. But among the crowd was a stranger. He sat alone. Third row, clean polo, aviator sunglasses. A clipboard balanced on his knee. He didn't cheer. Didn't smile. Just watched like he wasn't there for the show, but for results. Anna spotted him during warm-ups. She nudged Coach Deshawn. "Who's that guy? He ain't from the neighborhood." Coach followed her gaze. "Him dunno, but that's a scout's look if I ever saw one." "Scout for what?" Coach shrugged. "Could be college. Could be sponsorship. Could be city youth leagues. Could be politics." Anna rolled her eyes. "Everything's politics lately." Coach gave her a look. "Girl, everything's always been politics. You just started noticing. Game time." The Skyballs took the field. Anna pitched. From the very first throw, you could feel something different. Her fastball sliced through the air like it had something to prove. Her teammates moved sharper, more in sync. Tyrik even caught a pop fly with both hands instead of fumbling it like he usually did. By the third inning, the game was close, tied 3-3. But the crowd was alive every catch, every hit, every call, followed by cheers that echoed down the alleyways like hope returning home. Richard stood at the edge of the dugout, arms folded, his eyes darting between the field and the scout in the stands. Miss Loretta, meanwhile, was in full performance mode behind the snack table, shouting, "If we win, everybody gets double hot dogs." A kid from the other team looked up. "Even us. Especially y'all," she said, grinning. "Losing with an empty stomach is a sin." Top of the fifth, 2 outs, runner on second. Anna took the mound. She wound up. Through. The batter connected a hard grounder right toward center field. Jaden sprinted, scooped it clean, fired it to first out. The crowd erupted. Anna turned to the stands. The scout had written something down. No expression. Just a note. But her stomach twisted. After the game Skyballs 5, Rivertown 3, Anna walked over. She wasn't afraid, just curious. "You from the city?" The man looked up, removed his sunglasses. "Sort of. Youth Development Division. I scout community programs. We're looking for leaders." She squinted. "Leaders. Programs that don't just win but change things." Anna crossed her arms. "And what if we don't want to be part of your program?" The man smiled. "Then you keep doing what you're doing. But if you want a bigger voice, resources, partnerships, maybe even national exposure, we'd like to talk." She glanced back at Richard, who was watching from the fence. Then at her team, laughing, climbing over the dugout rails like monkeys in cleats. She turned back. "Only if we stay here." "Of course," the scout replied. "We'd be guests on your turf." That night, the team had a cookout at the field. Miss Loretta brought ribs. Coach grilled burgers. Someone dragged in a speaker. And soon the base paths turned into a dance floor. Anna sat near home plate, eating a popsicle, legs crossed. Richard walked over. "You good?" She nodded. "He's a scout. I figured. He wants to make us bigger." Richard smiled. "You okay with that? I don't want to lose what we are. I don't want to be polished or packaged." He sat beside her. "You know, when I first made my money, everyone told me I had to change. Talk different, dress different, eat things I couldn't pronounce. I thought that was success. And now, I think success is staying you, no matter how big the room gets." Anna looked at the field. The lights above. The laughter behind. "We're not leaving, right?" "Never." She leaned back on her elbows. "Good," she said, "'cause this feels like home." Richard reached into his pocket. Pulled out a small folded paper. "What's that?" "Something I forgot to show you." He handed it to her. It was a photo framed in the soft yellow of old Polaroid. Her, standing on the pitcher's mound, holding her ball up like a trophy. Sunlight in her hair, determination in her eyes. On the back, in Richard's handwriting, "Throw when it matters." Anna didn't speak. She didn't need to. The letter came on a Wednesday, slipped beneath the clubhouse door in a thick ivory envelope with an official seal stamped in gold. Richard found it first, sandwiched between flyers for a church car wash and a local produce delivery. He opened it slowly, the paper heavy, like the kind reserved for weddings or awards. Anna arrived moments later, dragging a wheeled bag full of equipment behind her. "What's that?" Richard handed her the letter. "Read it." She unfolded the page, eyes scanning. Then again, slower. "Wait, this is from..." "Yep. The National Youth League." Richard nodded. "They want to invite the Skyballs to compete in the Eastern Regional Showcase. 5-day tournament. Teams from across the country. All expenses paid." Anna blinked. "That's big." "It's very big." She sat on the bench, the letter trembling in her hand. "They think we're good enough." "They know you are." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, "Can we say no?" Richard blinked. "Do you want to say no?" Anna looked out the window toward the field. A few of the younger kids were already warming up. Jaden trying to spin the ball on his finger. Mari racing Tyrek from one foul pole to the other. "I don't want to mess it up," she admitted. "What if we go and we lose bad? What if we get embarrassed?" He knelt down beside her. "You already did the hardest thing, Anna. You built something from nothing. Winning games. That's just icing." She thought for a beat, then stood. "Okay," she said. "We go." He smiled. "Good, but we're going our way. No fancy uniforms. No buses with tinted windows. Just us. And maybe Loretta's cooler." "You got it." The next few days were a whirlwind. The city buzzed with the news, local kids invited to national tournament. As flyers went up in shop windows and people dropped off donations in envelopes marked with, "For the Skyballs," in loopy handwriting. One man brought an old batting cage frame he'd kept in storage. A diner owner offered sandwiches for the road. Someone even arranged for matching team hats, blue with a white S stitched on the front. Coach Deshawn ran extra drills. Loretta organized a packing day. And Richard rented a van. Not a sleek, luxury Sprinter, but an old, dented 12-seater from a community lot. Its radio stuck on classic rock, and the AC squeaking like it was begging for retirement. Anna sat in the front seat, clipboard in hand. "We got bats, gloves, meds, backup meds, uniforms. You sound like a coach." "I am a coach. Remind me to give you a raise." She grinned. The morning of departure, the entire neighborhood came out to see them off. Signs, streamers, homemade t-shirts with "Throw when it matters" scribbled in marker. Parents took pictures. Younger siblings clung to pant legs. Coach Deshawn gave a pre-game speech, all fire and soul. But before they loaded up, Richard pulled Anna aside. "There's something I didn't tell you." Her brow furrowed. "What?" "One of the scouts from the National League," he called again. "He said if you pitch like you did last weekend, he wants to nominate you for the Youth Futures program." She froze. "That's..." That's the big one, right? Yeah, he said. Scholarships, mentors, even Olympic training. She looked down at her shoes. What do you think? He asked. I want to do good, but not for them, not for cameras or scholarships. For us. Richard nodded. That's why you'll get there. Because you don't need it to matter, you already do. She smiled, then turned and shouted, "Let's go, Skyballs." Cheers erupted. Bags were thrown into the van. Kids piled in like puzzle pieces. Loretta climbed in last, carrying her infamous lemonade jug and a bag of boiled peanuts. As the van pulled away, Anna looked out the window at the field, their field, the sign, the fence. The chalk lines faded but firm. She pressed her palm to the glass. "I'll bring it back," she whispered. Richard, driving, heard her. "You already have." The Eastern Regional Showcase was held in a sprawling sports complex just outside Raleigh, North Carolina. A place so pristine it felt unreal. 6 fields, digital scoreboards, a snack bar with smoothie machines, and real dugouts with benches that didn't wobble when you sat down. The Skyballs looked like they'd landed on another planet. "Y'all smell that," Tyrek said, stepping out of the van and breathing deep. "That's the smell of real grass." Anna squinted at the flawless diamond. "It's turf, dummy." "Still counts," he grinned. They checked in at the registration booth, a long line of polished teams with matching rolling bags, laminated schedules, and matching parents in color-coordinated polos. When the Skyballs walked up banged-up duffel bags, mismatched cleats, Loretta's massive cooler trailing behind them, some of the other teams turned to stare. One coach leaned over and said under his breath, "Did the City League send charity cases?" Anna heard it. So did Coach Deshawn. But no one said a word. Not yet. They were here to play. Their first game was scheduled for noon. The opposing team, the Hartford Titans, ranked number 2 inches the region, known for precision drills, expensive equipment, and a pitcher who had his own highlight reel on YouTube. Anna stood on the mound as the Titans' first batter stepped in tall, confident, batting gloves strapped tight. Coach Deshawn gave her the sign. First pitch a heater down the middle. Strike 1. Second pitch curveball that dropped like it fell off a table. Strike 2. The batter backed out, shook his head, reset. Third pitch a high fastball just out of reach. Swing and miss. The crowd gasped. The scout in the bleachers, yes, there was one. Always one scribbled something. Anna didn't notice. She was already staring down the next batter. By the 3rd inning, the Skyballs were up 2-0. Tyrek had scored off a sneaky bunt and steal. Mari had knocked in a line drive that skipped past the second baseman. Jaden made a diving catch that sent a ripple through the stands. And still, nobody said much. Not even the Titans. Because they were losing. By the 5th inning, Anna had struck out 7. But it wasn't just her pitching, it was the rhythm of the team. They moved like family. Covered for each other. Shouted encouragement between plays. Even Loretta was up in the stands shouting, "You best swing that bat like your rent depends on it." Richard stood behind the dugout, arms folded, smiling quietly. He wasn't watching the scoreboard. He was watching them, and so was everyone else. By the 7th inning, the Titans were done. Skyballs won 5-1. After the game, as the players walked back to the van, the same coach who had made the earlier comment approached Richard. "Langston, right," he said, reaching out his hand. Richard shook it. "That's me. Didn't realize you were behind this team. They play with grit." That's one word for it." The coach smiled. "Your pitcher, what's her name?" "Anna Washington." He nodded. "She's special." "I know." Anna approached then, bat slung over her shoulder. The coach smiled at her. "You've got real talent, young lady." She raised an eyebrow. "That what you said before the game, too?" He hesitated, then laughed. "Maybe not. But I'm saying it now." She offered a polite nod, then kept walking. Later that night, they gathered in the hotel conference room, sitting on the carpet with paper plates of pizza. Loretta was knitting in the corner. Coach was going over plays with Tyrek and Mari. The rest of the team was laughing over who snored loudest. Anna sat beside Richard. "You think they'll ask us to do interviews now?" "Probably." "You think we should?" Richard thought a moment. "If you do, you tell the truth. Not the version they expect. Not the one they can edit into a slogan." "One." Anna nodded. I want to talk about the field. And Miss Loretta. And the kids who didn't make the team. And the ones who were too scared to try. Richard looked at her. Then that's what you say. Outside the window, the parking lot lights buzzed. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks from another game lit up the sky in short bursts. Anna leaned back against the wall. One game at a time, right? Richard smiled. That's how you win anything worth winning. The Skyballs made it all the way to the final. 4 games, 4 wins, 1 team left. The atmosphere buzzed with nerves and popcorn and the weight of things bigger than baseball. A small camera crew had arrived that morning. Not the big networks, just a local affiliate doing a feature on the underdogs. But still, it meant microphones, interviews, spotlights. Anna didn't care for it. She sat on the bleachers hours before the game, alone except for her glove, staring at the empty field. Cleats off. Socks rolled down. Eyes narrowed. Richard approached quietly, coffee in hand. Nervous, she nodded without looking up. Yeah, you've done bigger. Yeah, she said again, but not like this. He sat beside her. What's different? Anna was quiet. Then she said, they keep calling it a Cinderella story. Like we're lucky. Like we just stumbled into this. But we didn't. We fought for it. We bled for it. Richard didn't speak. He knew to let her think it out. They think this is just a nice ending, a happy chapter before we all disappear again. He nodded slowly. So, what do you want it to be? I want them to remember why we're here. Not just that we're here. He smiled. Then, go remind them. By game time, the stands were full. Not packed like Major League packed, but full for kids like them. Teachers had driven hours. A group from back home had rented a bus and wore t-shirts that said, "She throws when it matters." Loretta handed out lemonade in plastic bottles she'd labeled with Sharpie. Even Councilwoman Reeves sent a bouquet of flowers to the hotel with a note. Win or lose, you already did both. The other team, the Jacksonville Jets, were no joke. Bigger. Older. They'd won this tournament 2 years straight and were already talking scholarships. First inning. Jets up, 1-0. A sharp single followed by a bunt Anna didn't expect. Second inning. Tie game. Mari hit a triple that sent Jaden flying home. Third inning. Score stayed the same. Tension thick. Then the fourth. Anna took the mound. Sweat dripped from her brow. The first pitch, fastball, hit. Second pitch, curve, foul. Third pitch, change-up, swing and miss. She adjusted her cap. Looked to Coach Deshawn for the signal, but he didn't give her one. Instead, he just nodded. You got this. She wound up. Threw. The ball spun like it had something to say. Strike 3. The crowd exploded. But not just for the out. For the statement, Anna Washington had arrived, and everybody knew it. Fifth inning twat. Skyballs. Sixth inning tied again. 2-2. Final inning. Last chance. 2 outs. Runner on second. Anna at bat. She stepped into the box. The opposing pitcher was tall, older, probably pushing 14, with a windup like a spring-loaded trap. His fastball was brutal. First pitch high and inside. Ball. Second pitch strike. Clean. Too fast. Third pitch swing. Miss. Fourth pitch foul tip. Anna exhaled. Everything felt loud, her breath, her pulse, the whispering crowd, the humming lights. Then she remembered her own words. This isn't just a game. She narrowed her eyes, raised her bat. The pitcher threw. Anna swung. Crack. The ball shot down the third base line. The crowd rose as it skidded past the baseman's glove and into the corner of left field. Mari on second took off. Rounding third. Screaming. Loretta yelling something nobody could understand. Marie dove home. Safe. The Skyballs rushed the field. Anna stood between first and second, stunned, mouth open, then smiling, then overwhelmed. They'd won. The game. The tournament. The moment. Later, the awards ceremony was a blur. Medals. Photos. A silver trophy shaped like a flame. Coaches shaking hands. The scout who'd first visited back at their home field approached Richard quietly and whispered, "She's got it. We'll talk." Richard just nodded, but he didn't go to Anna. He let her have her space crowded by her teammates, drenched in joy, alive in a way kids deserve to be. When things finally settled, as the lights dimmed and the crowd thinned, Anna found Richard near the snack bar, arms crossed, watching the field. She walked up beside him. "We did it," she said. He smiled. "No. You did." She looked down at her medal, then held it up for him to see. "This isn't the real prize." "No." She shook her head. "The real prize is that now they know who we are." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "They won't forget it." 2 weeks later, the field was full again. But this time, it wasn't for a game. It was for a celebration. The sun hung low and golden over the rooftops of the neighborhood. Balloons floated from fences. Long tables were covered with aluminum pans of barbecue and mac and cheese, sweet tea sweating in glass pitchers, Loretta's peach cobbler cooling under a mesh net like a crown jewel. Kids ran wild between folding chairs and speakers playing old-school soul. Adults laughed from lawn chairs. Former skeptics now wore skyballs hats, talking proudly like they'd known Anna all along. And in the center of it all, a new sign. Not printed, not spray-painted. Carve it. Skyballs Field, in honor of the children who never gave up. Richard stood near the home plate, watching as Anna carefully tied a ribbon across the base of the wooden sign. The whole team gathered beside her, each child in their well-worn uniform, medals dangling proudly from their necks. The mayor was there, a local congresswoman, even a National Youth League official, snapping pictures and shaking hands. But Anna didn't care about any of that. She stepped up to the mic they'd set on the mound, just her and the crowd. She cleared her throat. "When we started, we didn't have much. Just a patch of dirt, some old balls, and each other. A few chuckles from the team. We weren't supposed to matter. We weren't supposed to win. People said we were too poor, too messy, too loud." Her voice didn't shake. It didn't even rise. But everyone leaned in. So we got louder. We played louder. We showed up, even when they turned off the lights. Even when they told us to move. Even when they smiled in our faces and hoped we'd fade away. She paused, looked around the crowd, but we didn't. Because we knew something they didn't. We knew that this wasn't just a game. It was a message. It's still Island. She looked over at Loretta, then Coach Deshawn, then finally Richard. "You don't need permission to make a difference. Just a ball, a field, and somebody who believes in you." Applause broke out. Cheers, whistles, a few tearful sniffles. The kids hugged. Loretta wiped her eyes with a napkin and muttered, "Don't look at me." As the ceremony wrapped, people stayed. Nobody wanted to leave. Because it felt sacred now. That field. That team. That girl with a fastball. And a voice that wouldn't quit. Later that evening, after the sun dipped and the lights flickered on, Anna and Richard stood alone near second base. She held the ball from the championship game in her hand, fingers tracing the seams. "I've been thinking," she said. "Oh boy," Richard joked. "Here we go." She ignored him. "About building something bigger." He turned to her. "Bigger, not just a team, a league, for kids like us, ones they don't pick first, or second, or ever." Richard looked out over the field, thought for a moment. "I can help with that," he said, "but you'll have to run it." She grinned. "Was already planning to." "Ugh." He laughed, shook his head. "You're gonna run this whole city one day." She tossed him the ball. "Nah," she said. "I'm just gonna teach it how to throw." He caught it, then threw it back. They passed the ball between them in the warm light. No scoreboard, no crowd. Just two people who understood that sometimes the smallest stories hold the biggest truths. From the bleachers, Loretta called out, "Y'all better wrap it up before the bugs eat you alive." Anna waved. 5 more minutes." She turned back to Richard. "Hey," she said softly. "Yeah, thanks for not giving up." He met her eyes. "Thanks for teaching me how to keep going." The lights stayed on long after the field was empty, long after the food was gone, and the laughter faded, and the folding chairs were stacked. because some places deserve to be lit, even when no one's watching. Especially then, and for every kid still out there in the dark wondering if anyone sees them, hears them, believes in them. There was now a field, a sign, and a story. And the light they left on, at its heart, this story reminds us that greatness doesn't come from privilege or perfection, it comes from persistence, community, and belief. Anna's journey proves that even the smallest voices can echo loudly when given a place to stand. It teaches us that true justice often starts in overlooked places, and real change is sparked not by titles or wealth, but by the courage to show up, speak out, and throw when it matters. In a world that too often dismisses the underdog, this story is a quiet revolution and a call to never underestimate the power of one determined child, one supportive mentor, or one field where the lights never go out.